Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about blood flow through the heart. So we've talked about your different components of blood, being your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your plasma, and your platelets. We've talked about your um, types of blood, your A, B, O, AB, Rh positive and negative. Now we're going to talk about your blood flow through the heart. How does it get through your heart to your body and around to your cells that need the oxygen there? And so today you're going to be able to list the four chambers of the heart. You're going to talk about differences between the atria and the ventricles. We're going to talk about how blood flows through the heart. And then you'll be able to distinguish between arteries and veins in your body and kind of what makes something one or the other. So for starters, we're talking about your cardiovascular system. And so the purpose of this system is to pump blood throughout the body to move. And then this provides oxygen and nutrients as well that your body needs to survive and function. Okay, this is all done with your heart. And so your heart is comprised of four chambers or four compartments. And each one has a different name. So we have two of them are called atrium, or atria is plural. These receive blood back into the heart, and then they send blood to what are called your ventricles, which pumps blood out of the heart. So you have a right atria, which accepts deoxygenated blood from the veins. So this is blood that comes back from the body. You have your left atria, which gets blood from the lungs, oxygenated blood because it receives oxygen in the lungs. And then your ventricles, you have a right ventricle, which pumps oxygen blood without oxygen to the lungs, and you have a left ventricle, which pumps blood with oxygen to the body. These guys are separated by valves, which separate all of your chambers. And then just some terms to be aware of. So cardiac, anything cardiac refers to heart. So cardiac arrest is heart attack. And pulmonary refers to lungs. We've kind of talked about this term before, but just to remind you, pulmonary refers to the lungs. Okay, if we're talking about blood flow through the heart, you will have to be able to draw, trace, describe how blood flows through the heart and gets to your body. And so these are kind of your 6 steps. So first, deoxygenated blood that doesn't have any oxygen, enters your right atrium. From there, it flows through the tricuspid valve, also known as your right atrioventricular valve, into your right ventricle. Okay? It leaves your pulmonary valve, so it goes through this pulmonary valve, which separates your right ventricle from your pulmonary artery, and goes to the lungs where it gets oxygen. After it's got oxygen, it comes back as oxygenated blood. This comes into the left atrium, flows down into your bicuspid valve, and then into the left ventricle, where it is sent through the aortic valve to the rest of the body. This is blood flow through the heart. Again, you're going to need to know this. You have to label chambers of the heart. You have to tell me where blood goes to and from when it's going certain places. This is going to be important to understand moving forward. And so here's a coloring packet. This is showing you the lung side of things, well, kind of everything. So blood comes into, this is going to be your right atrium. It's going to flow through this tricuspid valve here into the right ventricle, where it gets sent up through the pulmonary valve, which is this guy, into your left and right lungs. From there, it comes back into your left atrium, where it flows down through the bicuspid valve, into the left ventricle, where it's sent through the aortic valve and comes out here to the heart as a whole. But that is your blood flow through the heart. And again, you're going to need to be able to explain that or understand that moving forward. Okay, these are just a different look at how blood flows through the heart and through the body. And so when it leaves your left ventricle, it can go, some of it goes up to your head and your upper body. The rest of it goes to your lower body, where it nourishes all of your cells there. And we're going to look at this more specifically, more in depth here soon, but this is just kind of an overview. Okay, so some terms we use with the cardiovascular system. The first one is artery. Any vessel that carries blood away from the heart is called an artery. In 9.5 out of 10 cases, These are going to be arteries that carry blood that has oxygen or they have oxygenated blood. The only exception to this is the pulmonary artery, because blood that goes to the lungs does not have oxygen, and blood that comes back does. So this is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood. Your aortic artery takes blood to the rest of the body, and so the pulmonary artery is after your right ventricle, the aortic artery is after your left ventricle. And if arteries carry blood away from the heart, your veins return blood to the heart. Again, most of them are deoxygenated or carry deoxygenated blood. Your pulmonary vein, the same one as here, is the opposite. This vein carries oxygenated blood because it comes back from the lungs. Okay, and then you have two major vessels called the superior and inferior vena cava. This is the largest vein, and this returns your blood to the heart. This is what dumps into your right atrium, so the blood can then be recirculated through your body into your lungs and back out to nourish the rest of your cells. Okay, there are different levels of arteries and veins. We're going to start with arteries. So starting with arteries, there are different sizes, and so as they change size, they have different names. And so you start with an artery, which is the largest blood vessel carrying blood away from the heart. As it branches out, your next one is called an arteriole, which is essentially a smaller artery. And then you have what's known as arterial capillaries. And this is where your nutrients, your oxygen, everything's exchanged with your tissues. Because these have very thin walls, your gases and nutrients can diffuse across the membrane. And it's at this point that your blood goes from oxygenated to deoxygenated and then gets sent back to the heart. And so we go from arterial capillaries to venous capillaries. Again, the only difference is these have oxygen, these don't. Your venous capillaries come together kind of like tributaries in a stream, that you have a whole bunch of these little waters, and then when they merge, it becomes a little bit bigger. So this is your venous capillaries become venules, and then you have more venules come together and create these things called veins, which are the largest vessel that returns blood to the heart. There's different songs if you want to listen to them, so you can learn blood flow through the heart. Otherwise, we'll practice a little bit in class. We'll kind of get you there that way. But this is showing you how you have your vena cava dumps into the right atrium, down through your tricuspid valve into the right ventricle, through the pulmonary valve into your pulmonary artery into the lungs, comes back through your pulmonary veins, both here, into your left atrium, down through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, through the aortic valve here, and around to the rest of the body. There's a coloring packet, a picture for you, so you can color it. You can kind of see what's going on there. This would be a great reference for you moving forward. I would encourage you to get this done, as it will help you with understanding where things go. A kind of a visual schematic on the difference between arteries and veins and venules and arterioles and so on and so forth. But you have your large arteries are here, which branch into smaller arterioles, eventually down to the capillaries, which then become venules, which become large veins. And so those are your blood vessels that carry blood around the body. Here are some review questions for you. Make sure you look through these, attempt these. If you are stuck, if you need help, my door is always open. Please stop in and ask. I'd be happy to talk things through with you and help you better understand what we are discussing as far as blood vessels go. But thank you for your time and attention for now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you again soon, hopefully.